We've all seen those comments about Yu-Gi-Oh! How it's too complicated now, there's so much reading, turns can last for 37 minutes, but little did we know that there was actually a solution to all these problems and more. Rush Duels are the newest way to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, officially now. And when I say new, I mean at least in the West, right? It's been out in Japan and Korea for a while now. It's marketed as a simpler, streamlined Yu-Gi-Oh! Playstyle that will entertain players new and old. And honestly, I think they're right. Today, I want to teach you all the basics of Rush Dueling, all the amazing changes, and why it can be a great introduction into Yu-Gi-Oh! For both younger audiences and those wanting to get back into the game. If we gotta start from the very beginning, in Yu-Gi-Oh! The main way to win is to reduce your opponent's life points, or LP, to 0. This is done by using the various monster, spell, and trap cards in your deck. Rush Duel is no different. However, there are some changes that you need to be aware of. Just a side note, I'll be making a separate video about maximum summoning and all that, since the Duel Links version doesn't have it yet, and I assume the first set of any English physical release of the game won't have it either. And really, the only way to, officially maximum summon is in a $40 Switch game. So, yeah. Anyway, here are some Rush Duel cards. Fans of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Series will probably already spot many new changes, but for those that are starting, let's do a quick rundown. A monster card will have the following: the name of the card, the attribute, which is just one way to help group cards together, the level, attack and defense, the type of card, in which there's a lot of them, and the lore or effect of the card if applicable. Spell cards are cards whose main goal is to alter the state of the game. They can do things like increase or decrease monster stats, they can make them change the battle position, or even just straight up remove cards on the board. Trap cards are similar, but they usually must be set, meaning placed face down, and can only be used after the end of the turn it was initially played. After that, trap cards can be activated when the conditions are met, even if it's on an opponent's turn. Speaking of conditions, take note of the card text here. One nice quality of life change that I appreciate in Rush Duels is that they separate the requirement and the effect of the card, making it easier to understand what needs to be done before the effect can happen. For example, let's look at this card, Seven's Road Magician. To activate the effect, you have to send the top card of your deck to the graveyard. Once you do, the card will then gain attack equal to the number of different attributes times 300 until the end of the turn. I should note here that even though the card does not explicitly state it, all effects are once per turn, meaning that you can't just discard another card to boost the attack of your Seven's Road Magician twice on the same turn. However, if you have two different Seven's Road Magicians on the field, you can then use their effects separately and then have two beefy boys in the end. Finally, we gotta talk about legend cards. As you can see, legend cards have this little indicator on the top left of the card art. Legend cards so far have been cards that have been imported from the original Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game. These are cards that have relatively strong effects, stats above the average of that level, and, they also hit a little bit of nostalgia. Originally, you were only allowed to have one legend card in the entirety of your deck, but now, one legend card of each type, meaning one spell, one trap, and one monster card, can be added to play. One of the biggest physical changes between standard Yu-Gi-Oh! And Rush Duel is that instead of 5 monster zones and 5 spell and trap zones, there are only 3 of each. Much like most modern day dueling, both players start with 8,000 LP. Deck sizes are also similar, ranging from 40 to 60 cards, with a 15 card extra deck. For those that might not know, an extra deck is where specially summoned monsters are kept, things like fusion monsters. On the sides are areas for your deck, graveyard, field spell, which is a spell card that usually complements certain types of cards, and your extra deck. Now, you might be wondering how having such a large deck size with such a small board would make sense, and I would have to agree. It would be strange if not for this next big change. In Rush Duels, you can normal and tribute summon as many times as you can. If you're a little bit confused, normal summoning means that monster cards that are level 4 or lower, as seen here, can be summoned without having to pay any cost. However, if you want to summon a level 5 or level 6 monster, you need to tribute one monster on your field, therefore removing it from play. If you want to summon a level 7 or higher monster, you need to have tributed 2 monsters on the field instead. With regards to the turn order, unlike the standard Yu-Gi-Oh! Having a draw, standby, main phase 1, battle, main phase 2, and end phase, Rush Duels just have the draw phase, main phase, battle phase, and end phase. When a Rush Duel starts, each player has 4 cards in hand. You can then determine who gets to go first by either doing rock, paper, scissors, a coin flip, a high roll on the dice, whatever is the most fair RNG way to do it. Whoever goes first draws 1 card and the game can begin. When you play a monster card, you can either put it into face-up attack position or face-down defense position. As the name states, a card in attack position can make attacks during the battle phase. However, cards in defense can't. Like I mentioned before, you can set and summon as many cards as you can. However, if you are taking the first turn, you are unable to attack and must skip to the end phase. It makes sense, right? It'd be super unfair to just be able to set up your board and attack when your opponent has had no time to prepare defense. On your opponent's turn, they draw a card to have 5 in hand, and then they can set up their board. This time, they are able to enter the battle phase, and if they want, have their monsters duke it out with yours. During battle phase, attack position monsters can attack opposing cards. If 2 attack position monsters fight, the one with the higher attack stat will win and destroy the other card. The difference between the 2 monsters' attack will then be dealt to the loser's LP. If 2 attack position monsters attack and have the same attack stat, they can crash into each other and both are destroyed. Neither player takes any damage. If an attack position monster attacks a defense position monster, you must compare the attacker's attack stat and the defender's defense stat. If the attacking monster's stat is higher than the defense of the other card, then the defending monster is destroyed, but no battle damage is taken. If the attack stat of the attacker and the defense stat of the defender are the same, instead of crashing and both monsters being destroyed, no damage is taken and both cards stay on the board. If an attacking monster attacks a monster in defense and their attack stat is lower than the defense stat of the defending monster, then the difference of defense and attack is dealt to the attacker's LP, but both monsters do stay on the field. It is good to note that not all monsters have to attack. So when you think you're done, you can end the battle phase and then move on to the end phase. After your opponent's end phase, it's your turn again. But here's the fun part that also contributes to the Rush Duel moniker. During your draw phase, you get to draw until you have 5 cards in hand. Yup, don't worry about placing all your cards on the board because you're gonna get another 5 the next turn. I love this because you can basically do whatever lines or whatever plays that you want without having to wait or worry about a monster being destroyed. However, if you already have 5 or more in your hand, you only get to draw 1 next turn. That's pretty fair. You also don't have a hand limit, but rarely would that even be an issue from what I've seen. As fun as it is being able to draw so much, you do have to be careful as your deck size gets smaller. If you're unable to draw until you have 5 cards, you technically quote-unquote deck out and lose. Honestly, I think this is a fine trade-off for being able to do so much during your own turn. So yeah, I think that's everything you need to know about Rush Duels. Now we can talk about where you can play. There are right now 2 official ways to play. The first is through Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, which is a free game on Steam for those playing on PC, or if you want to play on mobile, you can get it on your app store. It is kind of weird to get into at first. Don't worry too much about that. There are plenty of guides online that will tell you how to get into the Rush Duel world. So search those up and follow them, and it's pretty simple, honestly. I will warn you though that while it is possible to make a decent free-to-play deck, you should spend whatever gems you can get from completing quests and whatever to buy more packs in the store so that you can bolster your arsenal of cards. The second way to play is through the Rush Duel Dawn of the Battle Royale game on the Nintendo Switch. Fun fact, this was actually the first way for people in the West to be able to play Rush Duels, which is kind of strange if you ask me. Anyway, if you want to pay 40 bucks, you can. But you won't be able to find a lot of online, like, human opponents, so you will get to play a lot of Rush Duel, but expect to play against a lot of the AI and a lot of the bots and stuff like that. There is another way that you can play. You can use Yu-Gi-Oh simulators where you can get access to, every single Rush Duel card that's out, and you can craft your own decks without having to worry about gacha or any other limitations. Now I think we're good. Honestly, I've been having a lot of fun playing Rush Duels, and I want to keep making Rush Duel content as more comes to the West. If you want to get your friends into Yu-Gi-Oh and think that this video could help, please share this with them. I'll keep spreading the word about this game, and I want it to become more popular. Anyway, once again, thank you very much for watching. If you like the content, please, consider giving me a like, subscribing to the channel so that you can stay updated on any new Western Rush Duel content, and yeah, just share this with your friends if you think that this video might be interesting to them, and who knows, maybe we can help increase the Rush Duel population and eventually the Yu-Gi-Oh community. So either way, I think it's a win-win. That'll be it for me today. Thank you once again, and I will see you all next time. Peace.